little bit emotional when Coco was talking. I'm like, we cannot cry right now. But I've had this amazing opportunity to speak on stages alongside women I've admired for literally years. Over the last 12 months, I've had the amazing opportunity to work with world-renowned brands, take on legacy-defining projects like launching and monetizing a podcast, selling out my own events to over 100 women. And I always find myself asking this question, what the hell am I doing here? Because if you look at my history on paper, none of this makes sense, okay? Just over a year ago, as Coco said, I was, giving a presentation to a community of 5 in a Zoom room. And as the opportunities got bigger and bigger, I would ask myself, what the hell am I doing here? I don't have enough experience yet. I've never had a 7-figure year yet. I don't have 10,000, 50,000, or 100,000 followers. And I would let those reasons kind of justify why maybe I wasn't ready for bigger and bigger opportunities. Maybe I wasn't ready to be famous. But it's funny because as I started to put together this talk, which is an evolution of a talk I've had the opportunity to give on over a dozen stages last year, I realized that none of it was a fluke, an accident. I wasn't inexperienced. It was actually entirely the point because I am here to show you what's possible for you too. But for us to really, really understand each other, I need to take you back to the very first time I found myself asking this question, okay? This what the hell am I doing here question, because it was under very, very different circumstances. I was 10 years in to working my corporate marketing and public relations career, and I was doing all of the things that they tell the corporate girls to do when you're climbing to the top of the ladder, okay? I was coming in early, staying late, doing 3 jobs for the salary of 1. And so when I finally worked up the courage to ask for a raise, I really knew that I was worthy of the amount that I was asking for. So in October 2022, when I got a random meeting invitation in my calendar, I thought, this is it. I'm getting my bag. So I confidently walked into my boss's office that day, sat down, ready to receive the good news. And she looked at me and she said, Katrina, I just don't think you're worth a 6-figure salary. So I left that day because how could I ever stay? And I opened up my marketing and public relations agency called Knockout Marketing Directive, and I scaled it to 6 figures in its first year. Yeah, sure showed her. And I was doing all of the things to get people seen in places like Vogue magazine, People magazine. I had clients that were on TV multiple times per month. But I was harboring a deep, dark secret because on the inside I was actually miserable. Because I was getting everybody else seen and heard, but that's what I really wanted. I really wanted to be famous, to be on the stages, to speak. But I thought I had to build the realistic thing first. I thought I had to build the rational thing, the thing that would legitimize me before I could speak on the stage. Before I could speak on podcasts or call myself an expert. So I started doing this thing that the accounting bros love to talk about, diversified revenue streams. So I was building my agency over here, and it was fine, but I didn't love it, kind of hated it. I was building my coaching programs over here, and then I was doing random golf events, which were really fun, but obviously didn't connect to anything. And I was miserable and exhausted. And on the outside looking in, you might think I was seen in so many different places, but I wasn't making any more money. My business was not scaling. And that's when I realized that the accounting bros actually have it wrong. Because we think that diversified revenue streams means as many businesses as possible, as many service offerings as possible. The more you have, the more you can offer someone, the more opportunity you have to make money. Hands up if you've ever thought that way. If they just have one more service, one more business, one more offering, things would be so much easier. Yeah, been there. So I want you to think about something for a second. How many things are you currently doing in your businesses, that don't actually connect to each other. I just maybe make a note of it. Because this is probably the key to why visibility feels hard. Because visibility on its own is not a business model. I learned that the hard way. Because when I decided to shut down my agency and grow my coaching programs instead, I was starting from scratch. I took all of my revenue down to ground zero because I said enough. I just want to speak on stage. I want to go all in on my personal brand. I have no idea if this is going to work out, but I have to try. And so I did something that I'd never seen anybody else do, by the way, when it comes to growing a personal brand. We see this a lot for brick and mortar businesses or product-based businesses. I took out a business loan to be famous. And all of the intrusive thoughts came flooding in, okay? I was like, is the bank gonna think I'm insane for taking on debt to be a celebrity? I mean, they gave me the money, so clearly they were on board with it. But as I started growing my personal brand, I was running into this issue where I was investing all this money, but I was just breaking even. And that was because nothing connected. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, because if you want to grow a profitable personal brand, or what I like to call a six-figure personal brand, we need to understand the fame formula, which isn't so much a formula as it is a diagnostic. So as we go through this, you're going to understand from a personal brand perspective, regardless of where you're at, maybe you're an established business owner who has a successful business and now you're ready to be seen and heard, or maybe you're starting out entirely. This is going to show you where your gaps are. Because this was mine. This is what I thought diversified revenue streams looked like when I was starting out. Okay, we've got a bunch of agency services, brand strategy, PR management, PR coaching, some random digital products, golf events. But when I really started seeing success in my personal brand and my visibility, it was when I started showing up with one clear message. Oh, they're boxes. Usually they're circles. Okay, that's fun. One clear message over and over again for each and every revenue stream. So diversified revenue streams as a personal brand actually look like this. You at the center. You at the center with your mission, your purpose, the thing you really, really want to be doing. And that comes through what you speak on stage, but also what you speak on podcasts, but also what your content is about, your website. So if you show up one way on Instagram, you must show up on the same way on LinkedIn, on a stage, on your podcast, because if you don't, you just have characters. And I mean, I'm the girl that wants to be famous, so characters are really fun if you're on TV or in the movies, but they're not memorable when you're trying to build a personal brand that actually generates revenue for your business. So one core message everywhere. And there's one more really, really important thing. That core message needs to be what you really want to be doing. Because for so long in my business, I showed up with a thing that I thought I had to be doing, running an agency, helping other people be seen. And visibility felt so hard because I didn't really want to be doing that. And I meet so many talented women every single day who are building a business based on what they think is successful, when they really need to ask themselves, if someone had introduced me in one sentence, what would I actually want them to say? I would want them to say A-list celebrity, worldwide pop star, global icon. So we're working on it. So funnily enough, at dinner the other night, I introduced myself as a media personality. So I'm like, forget the consulting thing. What do I actually want to be known as? So start there. Okay, so the second part of the fame formula is really, really important because you can't have a personal brand without people listening to you. So audience is that second piece. And if you think you're only talking to one type of audience forever, your ideal client, you're going to stay a service provider forever. Because what I mean by that is if you just speak to one type of audience, you net one type of result. If you want to grow a six-figure personal brand that has revenue streams like brand partnerships, speaking engagements, and paid ones, by the way, monetize a podcast, sell at your own events, launch a best-selling book, you need to know that you're speaking to multiple people at once. That's your ideal client. Yes, they're listening for trust and transformation. But you also need to be speaking to brand partners who are listening for values alignment, maybe lifestyle alignment. Event organizers are people who are listening for authority and charisma, a little bit of comedy. And community members are actually the most important of all, and these are the people that a lot of us are really quick to discount because they might be the people who have never bought from you before. But they like all of your content, they listen to your podcast, maybe they'll read your book one day. And we need our community members because you can't work with brands, sell at events, launch a podcast that people actually listen to without a community. So when you're growing a six-figure personal brand, you understand that not every single person who follows you is meant to buy your highest ticket offer or service or product. So I want you to ask yourself, what type of audience are you under prioritizing right now or not speaking to at all? So if you're someone who wants to speak on stage, is your content speaking to the event organizer that might be watching you? And if this feels like the sticking point, because I did say this is a diagnostic, so you'll see where the leaks are, I'm doing a workshop sponsored by Adobe Acrobat after the break in this room. So come back and we're gonna deep dive on this one. If this is where you're feeling like you're really stuck, we're gonna create some content together. But the M in the FAME formula is media. So once we get to understanding our audience and knowing what we really want to be known for, we need media to help us get that message across. So media creates two types of outcomes, brand awareness and brand authority. Brand awareness is visibility, it's fame, and you can create brand awareness entirely on your own. You can show up in the same room over and over and over again until people simply do not forget you. You can create content that goes viral or pops off. So brand awareness is great. But if your visibility isn't working for you, if you've ever gone on a podcast once and said, that was kind of fun, but I didn't see anything come from it, it's because they're missing a piece. Brand authority is what actually generates revenue for a personal brand. A brand authority is what's created through a very specific action. It's called a trust transfer. So trust transfer happens through earned media. So earned media is very, very traditional PR. So for the VIPs who got to watch Lindsay's session yesterday, magazines, other people's podcasts, speaking engagements, earned media is anything that requires someone else to say yes to you for you to get that opportunity. Earned media creates brand authority because of that trust transfer that takes place. Me standing on this stage right now, there's a trust transfer that takes place from the Power Table Live onto me as a speaker at this event, which allows me to go on and continue to build my personal brand, land larger and larger speaking engagements, and eventually get paid for that. Owned media is really important too, because owned media works with earned media to secure opportunities for you. Owned media is anything where you control the final message. It's anywhere where you decide what that message is, how it goes out, when it goes out. So it's your social media account, your website, your blog, your Substack, your podcast, and we need both. So there's a really easy way to understand which one you're actually not leaning into and where the gap is. If you're someone who wants to speak on a stage and you're like, Katrina, I've been pitching, I've been applying, there's crickets, there's no's, why isn't anyone letting me up on their stage? It's an owned media problem. There's something in your content, going back to the audience part of the FAME formula, there's something in your content that isn't speaking to that audience that's looking for a speaker like you. But if you're saying to me, Katrina, I've spoken on the stages, people love to hear me speak, but when I ask to get paid, no one says yes. So there's opportunities, but they're not getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more lucrative and more profitable. That's an earned media problem. So one of my clients was a new keynote speaker, but she came out the gate wanting to charge $10,000 per speaking gig. And I said, we can do that. We can. So we started putting her on TV multiple times per month because that was what allowed her to build up the earned media that she needed to charge to speak and to charge $10,000 for a 45-minute talk to speak, because that trust transfer from the television networks onto her brand allowed her to go to the events and say, well, I'm already a credible expert in this industry, so pay me. And they did, because that is how PR traditionally works for personal brands like you and I. Okay, so there's one more piece, and it's execution, and this is where we either like see it all come together or all fall apart. Okay, because execution is what really traditional PR looks like. And this is what we forget, because as personal brands, we think we need to be visible all the time. We think we need to be consistent on social media again and again, every day. Show up here, show up there. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you need to show up with a strategy. You need to show up knowing what you are actually building towards. And this is the biggest problem I see when people start investing in visibility. They think that the stages, the Times Square billboards, the big top 1% podcasts, they think those are the milestones. Like when we get an opportunity like this, we're like, yes, I really made it. And they really feel like milestones, and that's why we get confused, but I have to tell you, these are not the milestones. The milestones are the things that you create, that you build a business off of. Your podcast, your non-for-profit, your book, your television show, whatever big dream you want for yourself is what you use visibility for. So if you're just showing up to go on other people's podcasts because you think that that's what's going to generate the visibility, the revenue that you need to build a business, you're sorely mistaken. You decide what your dream is, what your milestone is, and you build your visibility around that. And so the second question you ask is, what does leverage look like? So how do you actually use that visibility to generate revenue, excitement, engagement for the opportunity, for the milestone? And I'm going to show you this in a really, really tangible way, because one of my brand partners is Adobe Acrobat, and this is a master class in working with a brand partner, but using it to increase your visibility and actually generate real revenue for your business. And I always like to say, when I started working with Adobe Acrobat, I'm like, I'm sure there are hundreds of people out there thinking like, how does that girl with 3,000 followers work with an internationally renowned software brand? I still ask myself that question. Very, very simple. Last summer, I was speaking at an event in Nashville. Actually, it was Females on Fire. If you met Haley earlier, she's the best. So I was speaking at Females on Fire, and I met the Adobe Acrobat team there. So immediately, there's a trust transfer from Females on Fire onto me as a speaker. That's earned media, right? So I did my talk, and the team followed me on Instagram. So now they're seeing owned media because my content is speaking to the event organizers, the brand partners, the community members, the ideal clients all at once. Earned media and owned media working together. Speaking to multiple audiences all at once with one clear message. Help business owners feel famous and get paid for being themselves. So when Adobe Acrobat finally invited me into partnership, I could have sat idly by and said, sure, send me some ideas for some reels. Let me know when you need me. But instead, I brought them into my milestone, because I was hosting my largest event about 4 months later, and I said, why don't you come on board as a sponsor? And I'll integrate you into what I'm building. I didn't wait around for Adobe Acrobat to use me as a spokesperson. I created the opportunities for them to get involved in my brand, which has, since September, generated over $40,000 for my personal brand alone. That's not just one revenue stream, that's one client. So when you're building a 6-figure personal brand, this is what it looks like. One core message that speaks to multiple audiences through owned media and earned media everywhere. That's how you become famous, you guys. And I share this because this is honestly possible for you too. For those of you that were here yesterday and I got to do my exercise with Larissa, I said 3 years ago I did not believe that the possibilities were endless. I was fresh out of my corporate job trying to build an agency, and I thought that was all that I would ever be. I thought that that was all that I could ever have, because I didn't believe that people like me could go on to work with brands, speak on stage, and do all the sparkly, glamorous red carpet things I had wanted since the age of 2, something like that. And in 3 years, I have flipped that whole bus around. I've built a 6-figure personal brand, not just because I sat around and wished for it, but because I use personal branding and public relations to build it. And this is possible for you too, because visibility is fun, right? Like, it feels good to come to an event like this, wear a cute outfit, people tag you on social media and we share. But if we only just do that, if we only ever spend our time looking for visibility, we might feel famous, but we won't ever see those efforts convert into real revenue or revenue streams for our business. And I like to use this concept called fame and fortune. Fortune is the revenue, right? So when we have visibility, we feel famous, it's fun, but revenue, the fortune, that's what actually allows us to live out our vision boards in real time. That's what allows us to scale a 6-figure personal brand. And when you have both, fame and fortune, you guys, that's how you'll know you've really freaking made it. So go out there, share your content on social media, yes, but show up like the version of you that the younger you always dreamed of. Show up like the version of you that if there was no limit to what you could achieve, no dollar figure, no business loan, or maybe there's a business loan out there that could fund it for you, what would you go out and achieve? What would you go out and work towards? Because that's what you should be working on in this room right now, not the business that you thought you had to build out of obligation, the business that you want to. Because I promise you, if you go out there and really work towards that big dream and that big goal, not a single shred of doubt that every single one of your big dreams will absolutely come true. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you, Katrina. Sorry, I'm making my way up here.
With a whole bag.
We're good? Okay. All right. Thank you, Katrina, so much. I'm bringing a goodie bag up here, but not Katrina, not for you, but
Okay.
So
we're going shopping.
she's like, for me. I love it. Give it up for Katrina, you guys.